This is Muzan Kibutsuji. You've probably heard of him. I mean, he's the main villain of the literal biggest anime of the past decade or so. But accolades aside, Muzan is a problem. A series of problems, actually. Problem number 1. Muzan kind of accidentally turned into an immortal monster that hungers for human flesh and evaporates in the sunlight. Problem number 2. The remedy for problem number 1 comes in the form of the blue spider lily, a rare flower that has eluded Muzan for centuries. Problem number 3. Standing in the way of Muzan in his quest for this flower is the Ubuyashiki family, a family that is sworn to stop Muzan's reign of destruction in Japan by enlisting the help of literally superpowered samurai child soldiers. And lastly, there's problem number 4. Perhaps the most damning of these problems, actually. Muzan is an absolute moron. See, Demon Slayer has this sort of conundrum where the odds are so overwhelmingly skewed in the favor of the bad guys that the only way this story can really go on is if the main villain is so grossly incompetent that he commits literal centuries worth of fumbles. And so, lo and behold, our boy Muzan commits centuries worth of fumbles. Now, for a long time, Muzan had the luxury of fumbling. The jerk was so overwhelmingly powerful compared to his ops that he could afford to kind of just ignore them, put them off to the side. I mean, he came face to face with the main character before said main character was strong enough to even break a hair on his head. But you see, that brings us into problem number 5, actually. Muzan is a cowardly punk. 2 centuries ago, Muzan was spanked by a guy that was essentially Samurai Jesus. It was the closest he had been to dying in his entire immortal life. And so, like a kid who had been scared straight by his pop's belt, Muzan was basically PTSD into an action, and would spend the rest of his days enlisting other minions to go handle his light work. But when a 14-year-old girl accidentally reaches this goal before him, ... oh heck no, bro. That development made Muzan tight as heck, cause how is a literal 14-year-old about to be given the powers that he spent the past 1,000 years yearning for? And so he decided, I need to get me this 14-year-old girl, and I need to reabsorb her essence back into my own, so that I can finally obtain true immortality, for the first time in centuries. Our boy Muzan jumps up off his throne and goes to do something useful with his life. But you see, here's where we run into problem number 4 again, the one about Muzan being a dumbass. San is still a dumbass. Ubuyashiki has like this cursed cancer blindness tuberculosis HIV hybrid ... but it's bad. And it's gotten to the point where the doctors are telling him that he has mere days left on the clock. If there is one moment where Muzan should have stuck with being his usual passive self, it is this moment right here. All he needs to do to gain an upper hand is do exactly what he's been doing for the past millennia. Absolutely nothing. Why switch it up now that your plan is finally starting to miraculously make some sort of headway? But you know what they say, right? The ego kills, bro. Muzan decides that instead of just laying low and attacking the enemy at their weakest, he'd rather go ahead and attack the enemy on their terms. On the other hand, we have Ubuyashiki. He is the culmination of a millennium's worth of plotting and anti-Muzan tactics. And so, when he sees Muzan pull up at his front door while he's on his deathbed, oh, that boy's ready. Ubuyashiki knows how to execute a plan very well. They have to rely on tactics, and future sight, and super swordplay children. But a lot of tactics too. You get the perfect trap for this dumbass demon named Muzan. Muzan walks up to Ubuyashiki's deathbed like he's already won the fight. He put on his cleanest threads for their fated meeting. All-white suit, black tie, black overcoat. If there's one area where Muzan isn't absolutely mentally dumb, it's his drip. I'll give credit where credit is due. The man knows how to put that suit on. But anyway, Muzan, who really only came to talk smack, quickly finds that he's not the one talking smack. He's struggling to even sneak in a word edgewise, as Ubuyashiki is popping off at the mouth, crazy, frying this demon in front of his wife and kids. What has this family so emboldened in the face of a literal demon king? Ubuyashiki suicide bombs. He blows up his house with himself, his wife, his kids, and Muzan Kibutsuji, all there to suffer the brunt of the attack. But the immortal demon in their midst? He isn't so lucky. Muzan is now fighting the biggest he's ever had to face. Since Samurai Jesus, the demon who usually brushes off injuries in an instant, is now struggling to regenerate. But to make matters worse, the detonation of the Ubuyashiki estate wasn't just a well-timed explosion. It was a signal A signal for all of the superpowered samurai within the area to converge on this one point, where they would find their ultimate enemy delivered to them on a silver platter. See, Muzan's goofy self thought he was just going to pull up to the crib and run an easy squabble with a dead man walking. But thanks to Ubuyashiki hitting that boy with the most clap tactics of 1926, Muzan now finds himself having to face two mentally unwell fighters to PhDs, the literal main character in Ear-Pierced. Girl, a nonchalant dreadhead Mr. Olympia, and worst of all, an emo swordsman. Studies show that upwards of 95% of anime villain plans are foiled by an emo swordsman. If this encounter right here showed me anything, it's that all in all, Muzan just isn't what he should be, bro. Muzan has got to be the first one that I've seen get jumped into the last act of the story against his will. Aren't the villains usually supposed to be the ones catching the heroes off guard?